Hey everyone, I'm Average. Welcome back to another episode of the Beginner's Guide to Bun. In today's episode, we're going to be showcasing Bun's built-in HTTP server. Now, with something like Node.js, you might jump immediately to using something like Express or another lightweight web server. However, Bun includes its own called Bun.serve. Bun.serve is a function. Inside of this function, we can pass an object. This is going to be the options for our web server. The first option of which would be the port. So we're going to specify our port's going to be port 3000, just like so. We can specify a callback function that will run whenever you hit this web server from any endpoint. So this will kind of be your fallback. We can say return new response. We can say hello world just in the response there. So let's actually run our index.ts here. And I'm going to open up a web browser on the side. Now let's navigate to localhost 3000 and we should see a hello world just like this. Something that's really great about Bun, is its built-in hot reloading feature. You'll notice when I'm editing stuff here, it won't actually change just yet. But if I add a parameter to our bun run command, and that's just 2 dashes, watch right before your entry point file, we'll run the web server and it'll be hello. If I change this to hello world, we can refresh again and it will hot reload that logic there. So we can also return JSON if we want by using response.json. We can pass in a JSON object and just say message hello world. And we can pass in another object, which will be our response in it. And in here, we can say something like status 200, and that will give us JSON output, as you can see here. And we will have the status code of 200. I can change this to, let's say 500. If I refresh inside of our console, we'll be getting a 500 status code just like so. The watch parameter that you can add for your run command will basically just replace something like nodemon, where it would just kind of watch your file and reload when necessary. This is just built right into Bun, which is really awesome. Next thing that Bun.serve does is allow us to specify some routes. Yes, it has routing by default. This routes object will be a key to value map, and the key is going to be the route name. So in this case, slash will just be the index or the default page. And we also need to give the value a callback to a response. So we can say response.json. We can kind of just give it whatever we want. This is the index. Let's also zoom out of this text just a little bit there. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we don't need to give it a status. And when we go to our root or our index, we'll get this new message. This is the index. If we go anywhere else, it will default to our fallback here. I'm actually going to make this a new response and just say not found. And then I'm going to give this a status code of 404 because that is the not found status code. So yeah, this is basically just the fallback if none of our routes are matching here. If we remove this, you'll notice that we'll just get a standard HTTP 404, but this actually allows us to send some content, which can be nice. Next up, we're going to be looking at routes with different HTTP methods. So for example, let's do a /user, and we can actually give this route its own object body. This will allow us to specify different HTTP methods. So we can say get response.json message. This is the user get page. And then we can also specify a post request, and we can simply just give it another message, which will say this is the user post page. Now, if we go to /user, we'll get this is the user get page. If I open up something like Bruno or Postman here, we can do a localhost 3000, and I need to add HTTP at the beginning there. And we can say /user. We'll notice that we get the get method here. If I switch this to post, we'll get the post page. So that's just a very simple example for different HTTP methods. Another thing Bun lets us do is query parameters. So let's say, for example, I did /user/ and then we did ID like such. We can give it a get, and inside of our get, we can actually grab a request parameter just like so, and we can say response.json, and we'll say message current user ID, and we'll just add on our user ID from our request.parameters.id like so, and it's type safe, which is amazing. There we go. And now if I go to user/1, we'll notice that we get current user ID 1, current user ID 5. So this allows us to do dynamic routes super easily as well. Now you'll notice all of these are using callbacks, which means they're going to be dynamically generated each time. However, if we want a page that serves strictly just static content, we actually don't need to do a callback at all. We can just give it the direct value of this response. According to their docs, this can actually give a 15% performance improvement. So if you are serving just completely static content that doesn't need to be dynamically generated throughout the life cycle of the application, you can just do that and you'll get a subtle performance boost. Now, let's say we wanted to serve a file. We're actually going to make a new folder in our project and we're just going to call this static. And inside of here, we're just going to create an index.html and we're just going to give it a header and say, this is the index, just like so. We can actually serve this file directly just by using Bun.file, and we could just say static / index.html. Now, when we go to our index, you'll notice that it is serving our static index.html. I can put a paragraph down here and just say, welcome to the web server. And if I refresh, you'll notice that that content updates as well, which is amazing. We can also implement redirects super easily. Let's say we want a /YouTube route. We can say response.redirect and we can say https youtube.com, just like so. And now if we were to head over to our YouTube page, we will get redirected to youtube.com. Very cool. As well as this, we can also serve up images, assets, any other files we want. I'm going to create a new folder called public inside of our project here. And we're just going to find a random image. We got our image and I'm just going to literally call this image.png. Okay. And if I go to /image, I'm going to say new response, and then it's going to be a bun.file. And we're going to do public image.png, just like so. And now if I go to /image, you'll see just a picture of me. But yeah, that's how you serve files. And what's awesome is we get access to the request super easily. So we can use this to get something like our headers if we want. So I'm actually going to make this root headers. And yeah, we can see all of our headers here. We can see like, okay, what's the user agent? Where are they connecting from? All that good stuff is put right in here. We can also capture our Bun.serve here. So if we just say const server, we can actually access it. And this will allow us to do a few things. We can stop it whenever we want. We can reload it. We can do all sorts of stuff with our Bun.serve here. It's honestly quite powerful. And to kind of complete this application, I'm literally just going to say starting Bun web server at, and we're also going to make a port up here. And it's just going to be a const. It's going to say port. We're going to say started Bun web server on port. And then we're going to just slot that into the string there. And there you go. Now we get our easy little console message down there, so we understand what's going on. So that's everything for this episode on Bun's HTTP web server. In the next episode, I think I'm going to cover something super simple and small, which is literally just launch arguments. And then I'm going to show you guys how to add our watch command as an actual script so we can run it a little bit easier. So stay tuned for that video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And if you did, please consider leaving a like, comment your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear them. And with that being said, I'm Average. Have yourself a great day.